Good morning, and thanks for joining me for today's First Five. Today we continue in the book of Mark, and we move to chapter 11. And as I was reading this chapter, one thing that stood out to me was the way in which Jesus is continually having to prove himself and explain to people who he is that just really aren't believing and really not wanting to believe who he is. So it was just about 1 week left until he was crucified. Jesus is in Jerusalem, walking in the temple, when he's confronted and questioned about what he's doing and who he thought he was. And so Mark chapter 11, verses 27 through 33 say this. They arrived again in Jerusalem, and while Jesus was walking in the temple courts, the chief priest, the teachers of the law, and the elders came to him. "By what authority are you doing these things?" they asked. "And who gave you authority to do this?" Jesus replied, "I will ask you one question. Answer me, and I will tell you by what authority I am doing these things. John's baptism, was it from heaven or from men? Tell me." They discussed it among themselves and said, "If we say from heaven, he'll ask, then why don't you believe him? But if we say from men," they feared the people, for everyone held that John really was a prophet. So they answered Jesus, "We don't know." Jesus said, "Neither will I tell you by what authority I am doing these things." So in his commentary of this passage, N.T. Wright uses an illustration that I really like. He sets the scene like this. So imagine it was a busy Friday afternoon in the middle of rush hour. The traffic was so heavy that everything was at a standstill. Nobody could move, horns are going crazy, people are yelling from car to car, but no one knows what to do. Then out of nowhere, out comes a young guy. He walks into the middle of the road and starts directing traffic. Maybe skeptical at first, they see that the directions are actually working, so drivers start to listen to what he's telling them to do, and traffic starts to move again. And just as the guy's about to leave, the police arrive. They want to know who this guy thinks he is, who gave him the right to act like this. He's upstaging us, taking our jobs from us, making us less needed. This illustration is similar to the passage we see here in Mark 11. See, there's a mess, a situation that needs attention. A man shows up, works to provide direction and help, but gets scrutinized because of it. So when the priest and other officials ask Jesus, "What are you doing here, and who told you could do it?" with all the miracles and the teaching he was doing, all the attention, I love how Jesus responds. When he quite honestly could have just said, "I'm God's son, so I can do what I want to do." It's pretty much a mic drop, end scene, game over kind of answer. And I'm sure that if I was in that situation, I'd be tempted to react just like that, How dare you question who I am and what I'm doing? But take a look how Jesus responds. In true Jesus fashion, he answers a question with a question, which is my favorite thing. He asks, "John's baptism, was it from heaven or from human origin? Tell me." And although I think these guys know the answers, they're afraid to admit it. Because if they admit that Jesus is the king that was promised by God, that he in fact did have authority in being the Son of God, sent from heaven, then they might have to give up things they didn't really want to give up. These men maybe feared losing control, even more so than they feared God. See, they chose safety over truth. They chose self-preservation over faith. They cowered out of answering Jesus' question, even though Jesus really just asked the question because he wanted to see and know, them to see and know who he really was. He wanted them to see his authority and for them to give up control to him. Not because he wanted to show his power over us, because he just wants to show his love for us. So 2 things. Are there areas in your life where we need to give up control? That we need to surrender to the one and true authority in our life? If so, let's give that away. Let's admit who is in control of our life, and let's not be questioning, who are you and what do you think you're doing here? He's God. So let's have faith that he knows what he's doing and trust him with our whole life. And two, when questioned or challenged, do we respond like Jesus? Do we join in conversation out of love? Do we give our opinions and belief from a place of love or from a place of judgment and pride and control. So let's give these some thoughts today, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.